Heading back to a rendezvous point to meet with Master Windu, Yoda again was left to stomach another failure. Perhaps his time was at a close, and another era was beginning. Aboard the personal cruiser of Bail Organa, Yoda met with Master Windu, discussing what they would do over the next few years, with Padme's children not yet ready for their Jedi training. With the Emperor knowing that Yoda would still be alive, it was ill-advised that Yoda travel from place to place. Already, there had been rumours of spies hiding themselves amongst the civilians on numerous planets. Thus Yoda and Windu decided to join Obi-Wan on Tatooine, knowing that Vader would be so consumed by his hate for the planet that he would never dare to return. Under the guidance of Ahsoka and Shakti, Luke's progress as a Jedi drastically speeds up, which is useful given the terror inflicted upon the galaxy by the suitless Vader. Now without his mask, the lack of anonymity does not strike as much fear into his opponents. However, Vader relied heavily upon aerial battles, as he frequently took out entire rebel fleets by himself. The Emperor, meanwhile, has not given up in his pursuit of the missing Jedi, but his most elusive prizes had evaded his grasp thus far. It was time for him to take matters into his own hands. Sidious could not dismiss the possibility of his spies being wrong, and took it upon himself to investigate. Having thoroughly searched the mid-rim and the core, Sidious decided to scour the outer rim. This would eventually bring him to the planet of Tatooine, where Sidious felt something familiar, a presence he had not felt since the Clone Wars. The Jedi may have been able to mask their presence from his spies, but not from him. Taking a speeder towards the Jedi, Sidious stopped on top of a sand dune, a small distance away from a modest hut. Igniting his blade, he could feel the hate brewing inside of him as he sees the surprised faces of the Jedi, who ignite their blades in defiance. Sidious is pleased to see that they were the Jedi who had been at the top of his list. Stepping closer and closer, Sidious is suddenly met by a dozen or so Tusken Raiders, wielding bladed clubs. Sidious discarded them to the surface below with a swipe of his hand, but the momentary distraction had given the Jedi the opportunity to escape. Sidious growled in anger, alerting all of his spies to stay alert, but Sidious knew that his attempts would be futile. The Jedi managed to escape and reconvene with Bail Organa and Alderaan. Knowing there was little time left before the Death Star would blow them into smithereens, the Jedi evacuate the Organas to Shili, where they meet with Ahsoka, Shakti and Luke. Due to Luke's training from an early age, his powers have exponentially increased, which was useful given that now was the time to move. Yoda had had enough of the Empire raining terror upon the lives of innocent civilians. This was not about revenge, but about harmony. Borrowing a cruiser from a Togruta delegate, the group meet with the growing rebels led by Leia, and attempt to gather data on the potential location of the Emperor and his apprentice. No information could be found. However, the rebels had been considering relocating their base to the planet of Hoth. This would present the perfect opportunity to lure the Empire. Allowing themselves to be seen by Imperial probe droids, the rebels prepared for an attack. Admiral Ozzel's emergence from Lightspeed spelled the beginning of the attack. AT-AT and AT-ST walkers began to dominate the icy terrain, as General Veers led the way. This did not scare the Jedi, however, who emerged from caves on opposing sides of the walkers, and began cutting through them with effortless ease, assisted by the Iron Cannon. Yoda then used the Force, and swiveled one AT-AT walker 180 degrees, which then decimated all of the other walkers. The Emperor, who had been keeping a close eye on the battle, sensed the Jedi from afar, and swiftly made his way to the ground level, with the aim of turning the tide of the battle, knowing that Vader would be more than capable of taking care of any aerial threats. Sidious glided effortlessly down from his shuttle, and the whole mood of the battlefield altered. Sidious began to pick off patches of rebels, using the ice to his advantage, encasing some of them with the Force, but the Jedi were quickly onto him, all 6 of them repelling his attacks. Sidious could not beat them all simultaneously, and needed to divide them. Ducking behind the remains of a walker for protection, Sidious plunged his lightsaber into the ground, splitting the ice in 2, and the Jedi into groups of 3. Trying to make some time to regroup, Windu levitated some debris from a starfighter and threw them in Sidious's direction, causing him to stop to dodge the shrapnel. This valuable time provided the Jedi with the opportunity to merge the ice, and now it was a team of 6 again. As much as Sidious hated to admit it, he needed assistance. Sidious ordered for Vader and his aerial squadron to descend, which they did to devastating effect, sweeping above the makeshift base and setting it ablaze. After a full loop, Vader softly landed on the ground, and now the 2 Sith turned to meet the Jedi. The Jedi turned their grip on their blades as they look at their fallen colleague in Vader. But strangely, Vader was holding back, as if waiting for his master to make the first move. Sidious began to cackle, knowing that the Jedi and the rebels were about to crumble before his eyes. Raising his hand, the Jedi prepared for Force lightning to emerge, But what did emerge was a red blade through the chest of the Sith Lord, with Vader standing behind him and a smirk on his face. This was his time now. The Jedi are stunned, but get over it quickly to focus on Vader. Vader's smirk turned into a frown, seeing 7 blades coming towards him at mind-numbing speed, and he raised his blade in time to elegantly deflect them all. Ahsoka stepped back, knowing that her dual blades could prove to be more of a distraction for the other Jedi. Looking at her surroundings, she sees one AT-AT walker still standing, albeit ruptured in the command pod area. Ahsoka throws the lightsaber at one of its legs, and it begins to fall. The Jedi manage to roll away just in time, but Vader is not so fortunate, as his legs are trapped by the sheer weight of the transport. Before he could lift them with the Force, Ahsoka caught her lightsaber, and in one smooth motion, sliced off the arms of Vader. The Jedi lift away the walker, and take Vader away, and at last, the roots of the Empire have been cut off. That is until a new threat would rise to seek vengeance. That is it for the trilogy of What If the Jedi Never Gave Ahsoka to the Republic. Please like this video, and if you're new to this channel, subscribe for more tips, as we're getting really close to 4,000 subscribers, and as always, leave a comment on what if you'd like to see next. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.